Hey, Tim Frisch with A Frisch Perspective here. I wanted to do an update on the John MacArthur situation because I saw something from Jenna Ellis here on Twitter, and it says, MacArthur prevails in delaying contempt. Court says he's entitled to trial. And then she has a link to an article at the Thomas More Society, which is defending John MacArthur in this case. The article that is linked there says, MacArthur prevails, California court says church and pastor entitled to trial. So they're looking at this as a victory at this point in the whole situation because he is entitled to a trial as he has been not following the county orders concerning meeting indoors and has been charged with contempt of court, but they have been really trying to fight against that. Attorneys for Pastor John MacArthur and Grace Community Church prevailed in yet another hearing today in Los Angeles Superior Court, arguing that MacArthur and the church are entitled to a full trial on the merits of their challenge to the constitutionality of the government shutdown orders and the preliminary injunction. Los Angeles County has sought to shut down the church and hold MacArthur in contempt, but Thomas More Society attorneys argued that a final determination on the constitutionality of the orders must occur before the county could seek contempt against MacArthur for merely holding church. Judge Mitchell Beckloff indicated that he agreed there are serious constitutional concerns that have not been fully tried, and he reiterated that his prior ruling on the preliminary injunction was not a decision on the merits regarding the constitutionality of those orders. Because a contempt hearing is a quasi-criminal proceeding, Beckloff agreed that MacArthur and Grace Community Church are entitled to constitutional protections at any such trial. Thomas More Society Special Counsel Jenna Ellis explained, "This is significant because no person can or should be held in contempt of a constitutionally invalid order. Los Angeles County continues to presume that its order is valid with utter disregard for First Amendment protections. It's tyranny to even suggest that a government action cannot be challenged and must be obeyed without question. This case goes to the heart of what our founders designed for the purpose of legitimate government, not to be above the rule of law. Pastor MacArthur is simply holding church, which is clearly his constitutionally protected right in this country." And this is an issue that we're seeing in other parts of the country too. You probably heard about the people in Idaho that gathered for worship, I believe, outdoors, and some of them were actually arrested for disregarding the government guidelines in that situation. So this is really speaking to a lot of situations in our country. Thomas More Society Special Counsel Charles Lamandry said, "This ruling prevents Los Angeles County's attempted rush to judgment in its continued prosecution of Pastor John MacArthur and Grace Community Church for courageously exercising their First Amendment rights. We are pleased that Judge Beckloff indicated he agreed with the major points that we made on behalf of Pastor MacArthur and Grace Community Church, and we are very gratified that the judge's ruling today reflects that he appreciates the importance of the constitutionally protected rights at issue in this case. Because of California's shutdown orders, the contempt trial is not expected to take place until early next year. The court scheduled a hearing before Beckloff on November 13, 2020, to consider the scope of the challenge to the validity of the preliminary injunction order for purposes of the contempt trial, which Thomas More Society attorneys will continue to argue should trail a full trial on the merits." So one takeaway here is that it sounds like things are going to continue to be delayed, which is actually good for the church because as things continue to proceed in the COVID-19 situation, really I believe restrictions as time goes on are going to get looser eventually. So if the case keeps getting pushed back and delayed in certain ways, then I think that's really going to help the church once the trial finally happens. If the restrictions are already looser, that's really better for the church. The other thing, though, is that this is really saying that there really can't be criminal charges against Pastor MacArthur because of the constitutional questions that are being brought up here. And so that's really important. He really can't fully be held in contempt of court because that, at least from what I'm reading in this article, is a quasi-criminal thing. And yet what's really at question here is the constitutionality of the government orders in his particular context. And, they are really making a strong case. Remember, he's not only defending himself, he's actually gone on the offense and brought a lawsuit against the California government. And what he's saying is that churches have a constitutionally protected right to meet and assemble. And the way that the government has been handling this situation not only violates the constitutional protections of churches, but also has been very inconsistent in their application of the law. And they cite the protests, for example, in the way the California government has handled those. So they're really making some great points, and obviously it is having effect in court. Judge Beckloff is actually in some way siding with MacArthur's attorneys here, enough to give him some protection to continue to meet at this point, is what it sounds like, and not be held in contempt of court. So that really does sound like a major victory. How that's going to hold up and where the county is going to go from here is yet to be seen. I would imagine that the county may try to take it up to a higher court and continue to try to bring their restrictions and enforce those restrictions on Pastor MacArthur and Grace Community Church. But it seems here that the legal counsel for MacArthur is really doing a good job and really protecting his rights. And so really fascinating to see how all of this is unfolding. I wanted to share that with you because I knew a lot of you would be really interested and actually excited to hear this news. I'll keep you updated on the situation, but thank you so much for listening to what I have to say from A Frisch Perspective.